Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another event here at the Life School. I'm so blessed to be back with you with another amazing panel, a roundtable panel of amazing purpose-driven entrepreneurs doing amazing work in the world and doing so much good in the world. Thank you so much for coming on. And I just want to remind you that this event is actually brought to you by the Life School, where we help purpose-driven leaders build a legacy company that does more good in the world through the operations of branding, marketing, sales, systems, and team. Again, so they could scale a company and scale their purpose beyond themselves. Our vision is to empower purpose-driven entrepreneurs and business leaders to use their life's purpose through legacy entrepreneurship. And then lastly, our mission and values are, our mission is to become the most impactful global community in purposeful entrepreneurship. And we lead by these values of community connection, service, and contribution. And I'm your host, Ilona Lapari, and my mission in the world is to help companies scale their purpose and profits. And again, I want to thank all my amazing speakers here ahead of time, prior to our natural heart-to-heart conversations here today, for their time and the amazing wisdom and the service that they're actually doing out there in the world. Our time is the most important, valuable commodity that we all have. So I want to thank you for spending it with us here today, adding value and making amazing connections through the channel of this event. So without further ado, I'd like to say hi to my first amazing speaker, Ella van Zutphen. Ella, thank you so much for coming on. And I'd like to start off with you. First of all, can you share where is it that you are based? And also, what is it that you what is the impactful work that you do out there in the world?
Well, thank you for having me. So I live in the Netherlands. I live in Amsterdam. And I help mostly female entrepreneurs to transform their current business into thriving main businesses within 90 days. Because I really believe success loves speed, and I make it happen by teaching them my framework, where I finish tasks up to 8 times faster than anyone else. So that's what I do. So I help them to understand their actions, uncover them, their true motivations, clarify their goals, and pave way for rapid and sustainable growth. I was like a little bit hiccup, but yeah, that's what I do a little bit.
I love it. Well, we all love speed, right? As humans, I think that's one thing that sometimes, when we chase speed or when we have a roadmap or a blueprint, it can be, one of those things that most of the times when it comes to business growth and scaling and marketing can actually have people disappointed because, not everything obviously can be done fast. But I love that you actually were able to have a process, as you said, that you've kind of just, skimmed through a lot of the trial and errors and things that might get people disfocused in their businesses. Can you share some of the most important problems that you see in the day-to-day work that you do, Elia, with your clients, that you really feel like these are the problems that are really important to solve, and these are the problems that you actually see in the results that you're able to provide?
Yeah, so process optimization and strategies is really my superpower. I really do not understand where it's coming from. It's something that I see in a person and in their company. And the mistake that they're making the most, they are spinning their wheels. They are doing a lot of tasks that doesn't make any sense. So, and I tell them they need to focus more on income producing tasks and switch up their strategy. So that's one mistake that they make. Another thing is they also focus on really overhyped habits. We have learned a lot of habits in the workforce, and there are a couple of habits that are debunked since the 1990s, but still in 2024, we like to use them a lot. So that's something that I like to unlearn with them. So there's one habit, if I'm unlearning that, it makes them 27% more productive. So, so if you're 27% more productive, that's around 10 hours per week that you're more productive. So that's also makes up for the speed. And another thing that I see people do is they think they need to outsource their work. So they're making a lot of, or it costs a lot of money to outsource their work. Their profit margin is low. And what I actually do is let them fire those people. and bring those tasks all back to themselves and optimize and automate all those tasks.
Wow. Okay. So now I'm curious on that one habit that can increase people's productivity to, you said, over 27%. What is that? If you could share that, and obviously if it
Sure.
with your business model.
So one habit that apparently still the majority, a lot of people using is multitasking. And multitasking is a habit that's a hoax, and that's been debunked since the 1990s. And multitasking is originally an IT term. It's a computer term made from the 1950s, 1960s, where they have built their first like mainframe. That was like a really huge mainframe. And how they were able to do multiple tasks seemingly at the same time, but it isn't at the same time. But it happens at such a great speed that it looks like it's being done at the same time. And along the way, we have picked it up as a tool that we were able to multitask as well. But multitasking makes us less productive. It even has shown that it lowers our IQ. So with women, it lowers our IQ with 5% or with 5 points. And with men, it lowers our IQ with 15 points. So, and another thing is if you're multitasking, you're more prone to burn out, you make more mistakes, and you're not productive. So you're actually wasting 27% of the week with multitasking.
Hmm.
And
Well,
yes, sorry, and it's still a lot of companies are using that word in their job offers, in the vacancies that they're having.
wow, interesting insight. I've heard of that before for sure when it comes to performance, but I never heard of the IQ part about that. And actually, that it actually stemmed from a computer, the computer world. So that makes a lot of sense. Because yeah, humans, that actually lowers your productivity overall. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, and definitely a great insight. Just kind of makes you think about some of the things that we think like we can be more efficient with and do on the back end, but it's actually hurting our productivity in the long term. Elia, my final question for you is around some of the most fundamental pieces that you help your clients with that are the most revenue generating activities in the business. Can you maybe just name them and give us a little insight on each if you can? The kind of just the bridge of your framework. I'm trying to just get like some of the most important pieces that people need to know, which will help them focus better in their businesses, but also ensure that, they're aligning their activities to their profits, which is important and a big pain point for lots of businesses.
Yes. So what a lot of people do is cold calling, or my clients cold calling, cold DMing, cold emailing their clients. And in order for people to reply, the response rate is really, really low. So what I do is I get really, really clear with who their ideal client is and only approach those people. So the response rate also goes up. So I had one client, I don't know, am I allowed to share successes?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I had one client and she is a powerhouse. She's one of my best success stories. So she did 500,000 pounds in the UK with a 43% conversion rate. So that's really, really high. So that means that every 100 people she reached out to, 43% of them converted into a client.
Okay. And
So
what helped her get that high success rate mainly? What is something that you could share?
So getting really clear who her client is, making sure she makes contact based on that client, that the client is like, hey, she's speaking to me. That's me. And when they're making a connection, reach out, and they're all a little bit of a trust establishment, a little bit of rapport build up, and then a conversation. And then she leads them on to be a client.
Yeah, so it's just clear and intentional. Amazing, right? And it could cut off so many of the activities that we do when we try to just, put spaghetti on the wall. Actually, I did say that was my last, but now this is my last question for you, Ella. What are some of the most meaningful moments that led you into this work? Like, how did you get here? How did you choose that this would be the thing that you help people with and the problem that you want to solve in the world?
So I actually stumbled across this by accident. I don't know how to explain it. I always have been entrepreneurial. I always was looking for a solution. I didn't want to work in a corporate job. I already was working in a corporate job for over 15 years. And I tried network marketing, all kinds of like odd jobs via Fiverr, Upwork, people per hour. And at one point at the company that I was working at, like 10 years ago, a colleague of mine, she became burned out. And my director was asking like, okay, what can you take over from her work? Because, we need some help done and everything. I was like, yeah, sure. Give me the work, give me everything. And there was one particular job that they gave me and they were like, please be careful. This particular task will take 8 days in order for her to finish. So whatever you do, finish this task, but finish this task without any errors, because if you make an error, we have to pay the IRS millions of dollars or pounds, sorry. And I finished the task within 1 working day. So, and they were really, really upset with me. They thought that I made a lot of mistakes, and they were like, oh, we have to pay the company or the IRS millions and millions of pounds. And then I set them through. I was like, okay, this is what I did. This is what I did to finish the task and everything. Sorry, it's taking a little bit longer than I'm used to. Yeah, so I showed them everything in order to how I did the job. And I thought nothing of it, but there was a colleague of mine who listened, and he's like, you might be onto something. I was like, okay. And then he sat with me and he wrote the whole process down for me. And he's like, you have a superpower, you know that, right? I was like, no. So he was the catalyst for me as to why I'm here today. So because of him, I started to give like free workshops in London, in coffee shops. Then I started to transfer to like little offices in little groups, like 5 to 10 people, now online. So yeah, that's a little bit of the backstory of like how it's transformed, because it was just by a complete coincidence, accident.
Yeah, I love your story. So cool, right? But is
Yeah.
it really a coincidence? Because I really feel like a lot of the times, we just learn those skills and experiences, and we just don't know the gifts that we have inside of us. We just have to be put into in
Yes.
front of that opportunity with the right people to learn that about ourselves. And now you've developed that further, obviously, with helping so many people and gaining more experience and shortening the time piece, which is really important for a lot of entrepreneurs as well. Ella,
Yes.
thank you so much for sharing, and thanks so much for
Thank you.
going first and, speaking from the heart, and then all the work that you do. I'll definitely come back to you at the end as well.
Thank you.
All right, my pleasure. I look to go. I would like to apologize ahead of time for butchering your name or your last name. I don't mean to do that, but Zach Liutas. I hope I said that correctly, Zach. Thanks so much for being here. And then same question for you, just to kind of get to know you. Where are you based and what is it that you do?
So I'm based out of Canada, and I help women overcome obstacles in their life by teaching them spiritual principles and tapping into their innate abilities that they have, that they kind of suppress because they live in a state of the ego, that fear, the self-doubt, the imposter syndrome, the I'm not enough, and all those places that we find a lot of emptiness. So I help women overcome their obstacles, overcome resistance, and really understand who they are from the core of their existence. And I help them just by teaching them spiritual principles and practices. And as I watch them soar, it excites me, because it's like, that is exactly how God created you to be, not exactly who you were previously. So watching women soar and grow is my greatest gift to see women to go through.
Gosh, that's such important work, especially when we help ourselves through the overcoming of ego. Right now, we're seeing a lot of that as well. And I love that you all actually use spiritual principles. And that would be my next question for you. What are some of the most impactful spiritual principles that you have taught your clients that have given them the biggest transformations in their lives?
Yeah, one thing I use a lot of biblical teachings, because I always say the Bible is your GPS to life. The Bible is not a religious tool by any means. That's the title they put on it. I say God always prepared us for what we're going through in life. And if you don't want to use the Bible as your book base, then you're feeling lost. And all the personal development books all use spiritual and, you know, biblical experiences. If you look at it, the secrets, basically all biblical use of all the different principles they have. So I always say to them, like, I want you to visualize how the creator created you and who are you in the eyes of the creator. And when I get women to start looking at that, it almost feels like they start dissolving their fears and start dissolving their pain and start dissolving their sufferings. I say to them, you know, there's a reason why you're going through this, because you have to learn a deeper aspect of yourself. But when God's in charge, know that the fear is dissolved, the self-doubt is dissolved. So look at life as the way God has created you, away from the flesh as you tap into the spirit.
Yeah, I agree with you. Definitely a lot of spiritual concepts, right? Doesn't matter what religion we believe in or if we believe in anything or spirituality. But yeah, there's a lot of those because obviously we are a spiritual being overall as a human, right? So I love that you mentioned that, and I've seen a lot of that myself as well. Zach, my next question for you is around learning those important lessons. Is there something that we can do to, I guess, speed up the process of learning those lessons that if we don't learn them, they're going to keep repeating and just in other ways, in other circumstances? Is there maybe some best practices that you could share around that?
The first place I start is breath. God is breath, because if we don't breathe properly, we're literally dying on the inside. So when I work with my clients, I always ask them to bring awareness to their breath. And typically a lot of people breathe into their throat or into their heart, forgetting their lower extremities. And that's where we hold a lot of pain and trauma. So bringing awareness to your breath is so important, that we're breathing from the root, from our creation, because our root is our creation of the truth of who we are. So once we get to that breath work, and then we start opening up and dissolving things that are coming up. And as you're breathing, I can say, like, what's going on in your mind right now? What's coming up in your mind right now? And some people have a really hard time breathing all the way down to the root because they hold on so much into their solar plexus, that fear, that doubt, the disconnection from higher consciousness, because they're stuck in what I call the flesh. It's really the ego. And once they get into that breath work, and really it's just basic breath work. I don't do anything fancy. I like to stick to the basics. Life, when we stick to basics of life, we start to thrive and grow, and then we can move from there. So first step would be breath, and then tapping into the root, your childhood. And are you holding on to your mom's trauma, your dad's trauma, or your own trauma that you have really connected with in this lifetime to learn your lessons? So once we get through that aspect, a lot of people are like, this doesn't belong to me. This is not who I am. I see these attributes and these personality characteristics traits in my mom. And I said, so is that yours? Or did you pick it up from your mom and make it yours? So I go through a whole plethora of different works that I do with a lot of different women, depending where they are. But breath work is the most important thing, because when we are born, what's the first thing that they do? Tap us in our butt and they look at our breath. And if we don't have breath, we're literally dead, right? So that's why I follow the breath work most importantly.
Yeah, and I love it. Like this repeats for me too. Like it's those simple things, you know, because sometimes we're looking for like this answer out there that's kind of, I don't know if I'm what I don't know, and which is good because we're all here. I think one thing that unites all of us as purpose-driven entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs in general is that we're students of life. We're always learning and we're always, you know, growing and embracing new concepts and new things in our business as well. But yeah, and we're always trying to look for things out there. But you know, some of the best things that we can learn are kind of right under our nose and are so basic. Zach, I couldn't let you go without the ego question too. So I think this is a really important question, especially with our audience of helping them align purpose and profits. And sometimes there's always a confusion around, well, if, you know, I am more purpose driven, I'm not going to be able to be more profitable. And then vice versa. We have a lot of companies that focus more on the profit side and, you know, don't understand how to do the second piece, which is really important for building a healthy company and having the success that they desire. Ego, what are some red flags that we can pay attention to or become aware around that kind of help give us the message that we're operating out of our ego rather than, you know, out of our heart, so to speak, or from a better place, if that could be the right terminology?
Yeah, that's one thing. Like when people are purpose driven, there is a lot, especially in the spiritual world, they're saying, well, you're spiritual, you shouldn't be making money. And I'm like, well, God is a multiplying God, is an abundant God. So why should I not be making great abundance and have financial freedom in my life. And the thing is that when we're stuck in our ego, we feel that we're not deserving of things. We're not worthy. And if you find yourself unworthy, then you're bringing yourself in that state of ego, because we're all worthy of living this abundant, infinite lifestyle that we want. But it's the way that we are raised. Money doesn't fall off trees. Money isn't easy. We shouldn't be doing this. So when we start to realize that we are worthy of living the lifestyle that we want to live, because that's what we came on this earth for. We didn't come to this earth to live in mediocrity. We came to this earth to live abundant, and we came to this earth to live free and to speak the way that we want to speak. And how other people take it has nothing to do with you, because you're coming from your heart. And because we're triggering someone's trauma, and then they start attacking us in the sense that, I don't know why this is coming through me right now. It's really about how we're really allowing those words to open ourselves up. Because sometimes we say things and it could trigger us, is because we have trauma, pain, or suffering sitting there that we haven't allowed ourselves to heal through. We have suppressed it. We use this positive vibes thing. I'm not about positive vibes. I'm about healing through the pain. I'm healing through the trauma, because you are naturally positive when you let go of all the hurt and the betrayal, all the egotistical stuff. You don't compare yourself to others. You live abundantly, you live happy, and you're not living for anyone else. You are living for yourself. Typically, a lot of women, we live for our husbands, we live for our kids, we live for our parents, we live for our bosses, because we feel like we have something to prove. You don't have anything to prove, sweetheart. You just have to be true to who you are, knowing that you're worthy, knowing that you're abundant, and knowing that you are deserving of all things that you could imagine, think, and speak of.
Yeah, that's it. The message landed. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Zach, my last question for you is, how did you get into this work?
Well, this work was chosen for me. This isn't something that I actually thought I'm going to get into. As a young child, I would be able to see a lot of things and help a lot of people. And then people would come up to me and tell me their problems. And I'm like, I don't know why people tell me their problems, but I keep on feeling a spirit coming through me and giving them answers. And those answers were always really good. I went through a lot of depression in my life. I went through a lot of people pleasing in my life. I went through everything that I teach people not to go through in their life, and really tap into a higher state of themselves. And so that's what brought me to this work. And so I say, when I look at the woman that they so-called the underdog, and she rises and she becomes a millionaire and becomes, gets into this healthy relationship, that's where I thrive most, because that's what I went through in my life. And no one was there to help me out. Everyone was there kind of looking at me like, oh, she's just depressed, she's miserable, she's this and that. I wasn't living in my authentic true self, because when you live in your authentic true self, depression can't get you. Depression gets you when you live disconnected from your higher source and higher power.
All right, beautiful. Thank you so much for amazing service and the work that you do out there in the world, and for sharing thus far.
Thank you.
All right, beautiful. I'd love to go to Michelle Shawari next. Hi, Michelle.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. This is great. Yeah. My name is Michelle Schweide. I am a mom of a complex child, is what I like to call him. And right now I'm actually helping moms with complex children kind of find their way on how to deal with them and become their own kid's advocate for their child. So I've been in sales for 17 years in orthopedic sales, and my son has a genetic disorder that there's 170 kids in the world with it. So it's very rare. It's called TBR1. And it can cause a lot of things like intellectual disability, autistic traits, epilepsy, and things like that. And so, but we didn't know anything about it until just 2 years ago, because this gene was not discovered, and we weren't able to test until about 2 years ago. So I went through a lot through the years with him, not knowing what was going on, not knowing what to do, where to go, and where to go for help. And I've learned a lot in the past 10 years, and a lot of moms out there I know that they're going through it, so that is what I'm doing. I'm here to help them find their way. So that is I felt like this is my calling in life, even though I've been in orthopedic medical sales for 17 years. I thought that that was my calling in life until I had him. So.
I mean, that's what's coming through for me as well. Now it's turned into your mission, right? To kind of share things that you've learned in your journey to help other moms that might have a similar experience. Where are you actually based, Michelle?
I am in Huntington Beach, California. It's a beautiful place. We love it here. And, you know, it's the greatest thing about, I know how everybody just hates California, right? Everybody wants to get out of here, but I will tell you that with a child with complex symptoms and things like that, it is actually a great state to be in because they do a lot for them. And so we've thought about moving, but we're like, no, this is a good place for us for right now. So.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I've been to San Francisco, but that's like the only city that I've been in California, because I think it's important for us entrepreneurs to also locally connect with one another and to have that local thing in our mind, especially because we operate in such a global world, but there's nothing like building connections locally as well. So thank you for sharing that. I'm going to add you to my list. I have a new friend there as well.
Yeah,
And,
for sure. Come on out, we'll have a drink or we'll sit down and chat some more about all things.
All things life, absolutely.
Yes.
Michelle, can you share some of the most important lessons that you have learned in your journey? Maybe like, I don't know, 3 top lessons that you have learned or things from your experience that you can maybe share with another mom entrepreneur that might be listening to this, that might be going through a similar experience.
So I think that the biggest thing, and this is one of the things that I tell everybody, is with a complex kid, when they're very behind and you're trying to figure out what is happening with them, the most important thing is celebrate the wins. Celebration of little wins are what's going to get you through. Being grateful for those small steps that they make. I'm a big storyteller, so I'm going to tell you, and I actually just made a post last weekend. It was the first time that we were able to go on a hike with the family. In the past, we would get to the car, we would get to the parking lot, and tantrums would happen, meltdowns would be happening, and we just couldn't do it. And I cannot tell you how excited I was to be able to get him on video, like walking, and us really, you know, just enjoying that moment without that meltdown. So celebrations, like we just have to be grateful for those things, because it is so hard to be a mom like that, especially when you're working outside of the home and you have a full-time job and you still have to take care of your child. It is very exciting and you have to celebrate, and they get that from you. They thrive on that. And that's the name of my project, and what I teach is called Thrive. So, and I can go through that a little bit later if you want. But the other thing is you have to learn how to become an advocate for your child. I feel like a lot of people just kind of go through it and they just kind of get pushed around with the school districts, and with most of the time it's the school districts that they do what's called an individualized educational plan. But the problem is that sometimes they miss a lot. And so, and to be honest, I feel like even physicians, sometimes they don't know how to help you. They don't know how to help you push. They really don't even know what it is that your child really needs. I just received an email yesterday from my son's pediatrician actually asking me who is the speech therapist that she should send this kid to because he has the speech delay and has been diagnosed with childhood apraxia of speech. I have done so much work on that unless you become the advocate for your child, nobody else is going to do it, and you have to learn. So that is kind of what I do, and that's how this came about. And it's called it's going to be a part of a much bigger thing, but it's called Collective Wisdom for Complex Kids is our website. And because you can't do it alone, and that's the number 3. You cannot do it alone. You need a village, and you need people that are going to back you, that are going to help you, that understands you and your family dynamics and your child, and how it actually your family dynamics, really. We've had so many friends that just don't understand. And so a lot of times, like, my son will be doing something on the side and they're like looking at me going, what are you going to do? Like, but they don't understand how it is that we care for these children, because it is in a different way than a typical child. So takes a village, and you need that, and you need a community, and you need friends that understand you, and that will help you through it. So my top 3 right there.
Yeah, thank you so much, Michelle, for sharing those. I think those were all very important points. And yeah, I think in the way that you look at it, I mean, I usually think that our purpose or our mission kind of always stems from either, a passion or pleasure, or things that, we enjoy doing, or it could be from pain. And depends how you look at it, right? It's a very complex child or someone very gifted. But yeah, now it's turned into your mission to now help other parents, and specifically moms, as you resonate with moms the most, to be able to help them navigate if they're in this journey. Because I think, yeah, community for sure, when we go through anything, is really important. And I'm sure that based on what you are creating, which we'll find out more about it at the end of the event as well, you're putting pieces and puzzles of things and resources and support that, yeah, somebody growing through might just have to figure out on their own. And you have the blueprint and the kind of the map that you kind of has led your personal journey and experience, and now you're able to support others. So thank you so much for sharing that, and thank you so much for coming on.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure, Michelle. Thank you again. And thank you so much to all the 3 amazing speakers that have gone thus far. I find that these events always, because when you lead with your heart, you just never know what is the right message that will come up. They're very fueling and nurturing. So I want to thank all 3 of you for doing that, and excited to learn more from the other speakers. And I would like to say hi to Alex Dumas next. Alice, thank you so much for being so active already and sharing a lot of amazing resources in the chat as well. And where are you based, and what is it that you do?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, great afternoon, Lona. Great to meet you all, other speakers and leaders. I'm out of North Carolina, just outside of Raleigh, but I grew up in New York, so New York will always be home, but NC has been my place for the past 7 years.
I love that. And what is it that you do, Alex?
Yeah, I'm a coach, I'm a speaker, soon to be published author, so that's coming out in a couple of months. And the people I love to work with are leaders of color, so Black, Indigenous, people of color, BIPOC to be as an acronym. And I love working with them to grow their businesses, to advance professionally, to honestly just elevate their voices globally, especially in these different industries where they may have felt stifled or not felt accepted or couldn't express themselves in full. And one of the gifts that we get to experience in life, I love that Zach touched on it about living an abundant life. That's a big part of my identity and what I'm bringing out to the world, is just really tapping into this frequency of being fully self-expressed, of making generational impact, of really just being a voice for the unheard, right? And that's exciting for me. And when I work with clients, some of them have been coaches, entrepreneurs, executives, there's that underlying thing, right? Despite the success, despite what's on the outside, inside there's this what I call the little showrunner, right? The 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old version of themselves that maybe was too much for other people, maybe wasn't enough for some other folks. They've been judged, they've been labeled, they've been condemned, and I just want to help them stay connected and share their gifts with the world, draw out their brilliance.
Yeah, absolutely. So needed for sure. And Alex, what are some of the most important concepts that you've written about inside the book that you can maybe touch upon to share some of the experience or lessons that you have learned in the journey, in the effort to help others?
Yeah, for sure. So this is a multi-author book, and my chapter is called Everybody Wins, Including Me, and expanding global influence through communication. And that first part of it is really crucial because I'm a person who, I think Zach talked about it being a people pleaser, right? A recovering people pleaser, right? I gotta go to my meetings. Just kidding, not not to disrespect any type of programs that actually help people with challenges, but I came from a place of deflecting things, right? Alex, you're amazing, you're awesome, right? People acknowledge and share their appreciation from you. I would be quick to be like, I call it hot potato, like, no, you're great. No, you're awesome. You're amazing. And I couldn't receive it. It would just fly over my head. It would never, I would never let it sit still enough for me to actually receive it. And I had a lot of different challenges with connecting with people or accepting those things. And my war cry of sorts would be everybody wins, everybody wins. And I'd forget that I'm a part of everybody. Like, hello, this is not just for y'all. This is, oh, I get it too. So I had to include that a part. I was like, everybody wins, including me. I'm a big part of this everybody winning belief or paradigm shift. So it's a big thing to think about and continue to create and live into. And it's a fun game also.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I could so resonate with both things you shared, especially the thing of the praising. And all of us have received different messages and internalized different things around when it comes to our, personal blocks or things that hold us back from the life that we want to lead or desire, or the goals or the purpose that we're after. But yeah, I think the work that you're going to do and you're doing with the world is really important because again, once those internal things, unless those internal shifts are made, then there's you can have the things that you want on the outside as well. I also talk a lot about aligning. My story was that I achieved all these things on the outside, but felt so miserable on the inside. So I think it's time to kind of flip the script and, to do it, to do fundamental work so that everything else is really there for a good reason. You feel happy and fulfilled with what you're doing and you're happily achieving. So, yeah. Alex, thank you so much for sharing and thank you for also coming on today. I love to have you hang on until the end and hear more information around what else people can do to further support you.
For sure. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. I would love to say hi to Claire Hayek. You are up next.
Hello, hello. Thank you
Welcome,
for having
Claire.
me. Thanks, Ilona. Thanks, Zach, Ella, Alex, and Michelle so far. Anyway, very inspiring. Wow. I'm blown away. I'm connecting with all of you on LinkedIn right after this, so you can count on it. Yes, basically, Claire Hayek, I'm the founder and CEO of MSP Team Building. I have a long story, but I'm going to summarize. You don't have a whole day. I studied engineering and worked in engineering for about 20 years of my career. And at the same time, I chose to do two things. I wanted to become an artist. There's a lot of musicians in our family, so the talent was there. But I also loved sciences. There was a lot of engineers in our family, and so I decided to do both. I actually studied engineering and did music, toured the world, wrote song. I'm speaking the past tense, I still do. And basically my work in engineering is my passion for people. And I basically not the typical engineer, right? Right in front of the computer, leave me alone, introvert. I was actually the opposite. I was the gatherer, the person that just wanted to connect with people. So I managed a lot of projects, managed a lot of teams. And what happened is when you do that, and I'm sure you all have experienced, some kind of aha moment, right? I realized there's a lot of toxic environments when it comes to the workplace. And think about it, we spend most of our life working until we retire, and even still, right? So I decided to do something about it, and was always kind of leading initiatives as a manager, as a director, as a leader in these organizations. And I said, the heck with this. I'm starting my own thing. I do have the whole entrepreneur in my blood. A lot of our family members were also entrepreneurs. And what really motivated me is the fact that I felt that music and art and the creative side of our brain is a huge strength. And a lot of leaders and professionals are not tapping into it. I was blessed to have both developed, the analytical and the creative, but not, we all have that ability and we don't use it enough. So I started MSP Team Building, which is for mind, soul, purpose team building, by combining team building activities, team development, workshops, team training, leadership training, in a way that completely taps in basically the professionals' creativity in order to create that impact and that wow moment where they go, wow, okay, I can really do this. I am pushing my limits. I am basically standing in my own way. So the experiences that we've created with MSP Team Building, I'll give you an example. We'll get leaders to rewrite the lyrics of a song, and they got no talent and have never written a song. Rewrite the lyrics of a song, and then what we do, the song lyrics is not about just writing any song lyrics, about their vision, their mission, why they're there, their purpose, why do they care? And then we bring a live recording studio and we record them singing and interpreting that song with the new lyrics live with their teammates, with the other leaders. I mean, you can just see people looking at their phones and going, oh God, get me out of here, right? So what we do is all about that impact. Really, we want to shake you. We want you to tap into your courage. We want you to, what I call it is, we're here in a tunnel vision most of the time, and some of us are a bit more awakened, and so we widen our view. But what I preach and what we really push people to do, leaders to do, is to tap into their panoramic view, where you see the whole spectrum of your hidden abilities that you're not even tapping into because you're just limiting yourself to this. So these are the experiences we go for, whether it's for training, development, a conference, a keynote, or a team building activity. The way I put it, we basically build teams. We don't team build. We really build that box around teams, around leaders, because humans are complex and we all have our challenges. And now put 10 people together or even 5 people together, you just basically multiply that by 5, right? So that's really what drove me to start this company, and to basically just make sure that we help organizations and leaders increase productivity, their performance, and make people happier at the workplace. Why the heck not, right?
Claire, I resonate with you so much. Yeah, what a beautiful marriage of the arts and science, right? And that we both have the left and the right side of the brain, right? And for the longest, I also had a big block around I'm not creative. I have no creative bone in my body. I used to tell myself, but it could be so further from the truth, and especially tapping into teams, because I realized that, you know, the more you nurture your creativity, the more everything else can, you know, have a productive result, especially when it comes to a company culture, because now new ideas come on board and people are more independent and they can creatively think, and we can think of new ways to solve problems and all of that. So I love that. And I actually, because I've been so focused, well, I love to kind of just put words together and speak. I also wrote a song because I thought that when you put music behind a message, it resonates with us better, right? And music is like therapy for the soul. So
Absolutely.
like few great ways to be able to, you know, tap into our own creativity, but also be able to share this with others. And I love that you actually got into the corporate space where it's so like, you know, business-like, and kind of help them with all these different modalities to help them kind of find both sides of the spectrum as well.
You see, Alona, what happens is, what happened is that we were all kids, we're all babies, right? We're born. I mean, Zach kind of touched on the breath, but if you remember your 2, 3, 4-year-old or 5, whatever age we remember, right? We didn't care how we sang. We didn't care what we drew and how well we drew it. You know, we just danced, we moved, we lived. And, you know, if you look at neuroscience, we're more in the higher, you know, those lower actually brainwaves, and you look at it, the alpha and the theta, right? Right now we're in the beta state where like the high stress is the higher beta, right? So alpha is the creativity phase, and we're definitely there when we're kids, and we were just unstoppable. So little experiences like this to kind of bring us back, hopefully, to that moment can completely revolutionize how we talk to people, how we see ourselves, and how we can empower others as well. Because as leaders, you have that power to touch people's lives around you every day. So what are you going to do about it, you know? And I think leaders don't realize that. They just focus on, we have a delivery, a deadline to hit. And we can hit that deadline, but we can do it in a very empowering way as well.
Yeah, so I love that we're talking about these concepts, because a lot of this can absolutely be aligned to the profitability and the results and the P&L and all the things that, you know, businesses kind of know to be so traditional as well. Claire, based on your experience, or maybe what you share when you actually are able to train teams, what are some of the things that leaders can do to start implementing creativity into their culture?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, this is a great question, by the way, Alona. So I think it's about creativity, but maybe the most important question is about how can leaders add value to others around them, whether it's tapping through creativity, whether helping teammates or people around them, with their colleagues they work with, how to communicate better, whether it is about creating a safe space or a trust, an environment with trust, whether it is about just creating fun moments, impactful moments. This is what leaders need to focus on. And there's so many ways. There's like, I mean, again, I mean, there's not enough time, and I'm dying to hear what you know, the rest of the speakers that didn't speak yet. So there's so many tools. I definitely don't want to, you know, I'm going to share my links here in the chat. I share tools constantly on LinkedIn. I would love for you to follow, and I will follow you. But typically, one thing that you can do as a leader, it's so easy, is you can decide, if you have a meeting, just to go for a walk. Do the meeting as you walk. A lot of leaders complain, nobody wants to show up at the office, nobody wants to do anything, nobody wants, you know, why don't you walk and have the meeting? As that stimulates creativity, that stimulates innovation, because you're in your body, you're present, and you're more open as you're moving your body. That's one little tool. If you're virtual, I mean, why not start the meeting with a little 10-15 minute virtual laughter yoga? Why not? Laughter, I mean, all the good hormones are stimulated with laughter. And we, again, as adults, we forgot how to laugh. We forgot how to smile. For God's sakes, we don't even turn on our video cameras, you know? I mean, they're just little things. It doesn't have to be complicated. And we're talking zero budget here, right? You don't have to hire like a big team building company to come and teach you this. So many good things that you could do to really impact your teammates' life, seconds, meeting, make it more fun. And even if you're not that extrovert and you don't want to be bothered, it's just a little initiative like this says a lot about recognition and about seeing your colleagues. I see you, I appreciate you. It's not only about me. And when you appreciate others and you recognize others and you give and you lead by example, I mean, you are fulfilled, you are happier. It comes back to us, and those brain waves are really, really happy at that point. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I love it. Absolutely, so many ways, but I think it all stems to fundamentally to building trust, right? And the more you can embrace your own childlike curiosity as a person, as a leader, whatever role you're in, the more you also give other people freedom to be able to, be quirky, do, different things from what's traditionally supposed to happen, within your culture or within your meetings or whatever setting or channel or thing that you have gone on within the company. But I think just role modeling it, I've always learned so much more from watching than
yeah,
things that
and not
are
being afraid of being vulnerable. A
embraced.
lot of people talk about that, but you have no idea how many entrepreneurs, I mean, I'm sure just around this table here, virtual table, we're afraid to show how vulnerable we are. And I struggle with that. You have a front, you're a professional, you want to show your expertise. Just drop the mask every now and again. Trust me, not only it takes the weight off, but it just shows everybody that you're human and you do struggle. And they connect even more with you that way. It's a tough thing, but highly recommended, definitely.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Claire, for sharing this and all the amazing work that you're doing. So necessary, just like, what Zach was talking about with ego. The higher up you go, or I guess the bigger the company, the more this work is needed because, yeah, it's so easy to be wrapped up in your persona or your status or all the things that happen at that level. But yeah, when you kind of just get reminded and always work on these pieces in your character and personality, you will just, ensure that all of these are gonna, pretty much your culture will be a byproduct of that as well. So yeah, absolutely important work. Thank you to both, and thank you, Claire, for sharing. And I would love to say hi to John next. You're welcome. John Antonucci. Antonucci? Is that how I say your last name, John?
I think the second time you got it, Antonucci, John Antonucci. Yes, ma'am.
All right, John, thanks so much for coming on. And the same thing for you. Where are you based and what is it that you do?
I am about 4.5 hours southwest of, I think it was Alex. I mean, just outside of Greenville, South Carolina. And I was up in North Carolina last weekend though, so a lot of beauty. I'm about an hour from the border. So anyways, Greenville, South Carolina is where I'm coming. I've been here for the last 5 months, spent the last 20 years in Phoenix, Arizona, and first 15 years of my life in Colorado. So I've been all over the US and enjoying South Carolina now. And I am the founder of SML Consultive, where we seek to empower specifically frontline leaders. That's leaders that are actively working with staff to effectively engage with their teams. I find that there are an enormous amount of organizations that, happens pretty much everywhere. You have somebody that you hire to do a job. They 10 to 15% of them do exceptionally well at that job. And so what do you do for the people that do well? Promote them. That's just the natural course of events. And then we can't figure out why the wheels fall off. And it's most often simply because we don't give them any of the tools that they need. You can be an outstanding person that does a job, and that doesn't mean that you're going to be an even mediocre leader. It's not because they don't want to be a good leader. It's simply because they don't have the tools. So we go in and try to provide those tools to those leaders and give them what they need so that they can effectively engage with their team. And then on the profit side of that, that helps companies reduce their employee turnover because they don't hate their boss, which if their employees are staying in, the clients are happier, and it has a really great snowball effect.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that, John. I think employee engagement is also a very near and dear topic to my heart as well. And I think, yeah, it's very important to understand how to be able to keep our team engaged, because then everything else will be a byproduct, right? The customer engagement, the results, and all those things that most companies want, and the P&L numbers and all of that. What are some of the things that you maybe help companies implement when it comes to their employee engagement? How to improve their employee engagement? What are some of the tools they need to know? Maybe the education piece behind maybe certain things that they don't know to be able to implement and increase their team engagement overall.
I think the first thing that companies have to recognize is that you need to actually give tools to those lower level leaders. So many companies are focused on the executive leaders. I think we even have at least one executive leader coach here, and that's wonderful. There's nothing wrong with empowering the executives. The problem is those executives are not normally working directly with staff. And so you can be an amazing executive leader doing wonderful things, but you're busy in the boardroom and with the investors and maybe working with your directors, but it's your foreman and it's your team leads and it's your managers and supervisors that are actively either making or breaking a great culture. So I have found that is something that organizations have to come to terms with, because most of them have, I shouldn't say most, many of them have the idea that one owner articulated. He goes, I don't need to train them. I just need them to make copies of themselves. What are you talking about? And I was like, all right, well, I hope that your business does well, because there's just not a lot that can be said if that's the goal. So I think that's the first thing. And then once a company sees value in empowering their frontline leaders, or if it's an entrepreneur, just sees value in saying, okay, what do I need to do to not work in the business, but work on the business, so that, as Zig Ziglar says, a true entrepreneur, you don't build a business, you build people, and people will build the business. And so people that want that, there's tons of things. There's many disciplines. I think there's 3 that all of them have to have, no matter who you are. I have it as WIN. The WIN is the acronym. W stands for words or communication. We have to be able to communicate effectively with a broad spectrum of personalities, and maybe even in this now global world, we may need to even be able to try to think in terms of, okay, what's going to resonate most with this individual. There's a team in Honduras I work with regularly, and so when I'm selecting English words, it is an English company. They do have to speak English. I try to make sure all of my English words are Latin based, because those are the ones that are most likely going to resonate with that particular demographic, because Honduran Spanish is, of course, a Latin-based language. And so if you can bridge some of those gaps, for example, you might call people you work with coworkers. That doesn't mean anything to them, but if you use the word colleague, that matches very closely with the Honduran word of colega, and they're able to make that connection much more easily, and you're able to communicate better. So your words have to be effective, and then the I is integrity. Your actions have to match the words as a leader. If your actions don't match the words, then what's the old phrase? Talk is cheap. And so I really think that leaders have to recognize that everything from their example to their attitude to what they're willing to do on the floor, whatever their floor is, whether it's a retail floor, a manufacturing floor, or a blue collar type of floor, whatever that is, their integrity has to match the words. And then if your words are effective, you have the integrity to back them up. The N of win is nurture. You have to now convey that to others and build them up. And I personally don't believe that a person is a leader until they are equipped to build other leaders who are also equipped to build other leaders. So it's a kind of a multi-generational leadership capacity. Anybody can direct, anybody can manage, anybody can get to, I think it was Claire's point, to get the metrics figured out. But empowering people to think through things and to be self-sufficient and to even train the next generation, I think is where real legacy is born. And that's what I really enjoy bringing leaders into.
Yeah, I think those points that you mentioned, John, are so important, because I really think that the biggest pain point and the biggest asset that companies have, or we have as entrepreneurs to grow companies wherever we are in the journey, is always the human piece, right? The human resource, the top talent. And usually that's always the challenge of any company at scale, right? Attracting, keeping, and developing their top talent. So I think it's definitely a lot of companies have good focus around their employee engagement and their cultures as well. But there's so many things that you can do and be intentional about that. 1% improvement can actually give you such a a high ROI on those things that are so important to people. And yeah, that makes a lot of sense with the messaging, right? One word can pretty much, change the resonation level on the other side when your audience is your team, so to speak, depending on obviously what the company is driving. So
It
important
is.
for sure.
Yeah, and I'll add that, one of the things I see a lot of companies do, especially I work with a lot of HR. I sound probably a few of you work a lot with HR. And one of the things that I find is that HR almost always has an amazing playbook, but they don't realize how poorly it's being executed. So they've got a great vision and they want employee engagement and they want staff training and they want manager training and they have this all. But because it, at least in most organizations, is what I like to call click-through training, and it's just hit the button, there's not real empowerment behind it. And so one of the things that I go in and tell these frontline leaders is, listen, guys or gals, you're going to make an impact, period. You are going to impact the lives of those you lead. There's only one question. Will it be positive or will it be negative? That's all it is. And once I think it starts to click with them that, oh, wait a minute, these are lives in front of me. These are souls that are counting on me to provide vision and leadership and direction. And I need to hear their heart, not just, issue orders. And I need to develop their strengths, not just do it for them. It changes the perspective. And that's when those wonderful playbooks can actually take root. And same thing for any entrepreneur. How many entrepreneurs have we worked with that can't take their hands off the business because they just don't trust anybody? Well, now you're faced with a very real reality. Either you hired the wrong people because you don't trust them, or you need to learn to trust them so that you can let go and let the legacy build.
Yeah, two questions, right? Sometimes they're simplifying things that we have two choices, kind of cleans up a lot of our own noise around these important things and important decisions for sure. How did you get into this work, John?
So I was actually functioning as the training manager for a company, and I recognized this problem. I looked at our frontline leaders and I recognized that most of the complaints that we had, most of the employee turnover that we had could all be traced back to these leaders. And so I asked some questions. I hadn't been with the company for more than probably a year or two at that point. And I asked some questions trying to figure out, how are these leaders selected? And it really came back to the same thing that most leaders are selected by. It was next man up. They were there the longest. They'd put in the most time. They had done the right things. They'd worked enough weekends, whatever it was. And somebody had decided, hey, this is the type of person that we can count on and that's dependable and that does a good job. And so we're going to promote them. And so I went rounds with the CEO. I mean, rounds, saying we've got to do leadership training, not skills training, leadership training, not operational training, leadership training. And finally, there was a moment where she acquiesced, and we came to an agreement that we were going to make it happen. And so as the training manager, I created a lot of materials, but this was one that I felt there's a breadth of knowledge out there. Surely I can compile some things. And what I found is that most of the material was geared for executives. That's where most of the money is, and that's where most of the energy is going. And so I, at that moment, realized, okay, there's a problem here. It's not really being solved very effectively by most of the resources that are out there. And as I reflected on this and I started to try to create the solution that I was looking for, I realized that I actually had about 20 years of leadership experience by this point, and it had just not dawned on me. And I realized that I had trained mentors and I had done train the trainer stuff before. And it all came together, and I was born for this. This is what my life has been coming to. And this is where I'm going to be able to add value in the world. And within a few months of that, we started the company, and we've been able to help people. And that's just no greater joy.
Oh my gosh, I love it. There's so much resonation, I think, for a lot of us here, where it's like, it seems like you've been built. You're like, it's all the things that happen have been built with you for the thing, for the gap that you're experiencing, right? And sometimes it's like, even for me, when I create, I'm like, I can't believe I didn't see this, like, like, I don't know, a year ago, but that's why you got to trust the process and the experience. And I
Indeed.
love that you kind of just articulated a similar process for yourself, where you're able to, identify a gap and now be able to offer your own authentic way and solution to be able to solve that problem for companies. And yeah, I think it's such an important value impact activity that's absolutely going to create transformation, especially for companies that are purpose driven, that really through their service or product, they're able to add value and transform somebody else's life, ensuring that businesses are a force for good. Thank you so much, John, for what you just shared, and thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
All right, I would love to call on Natalie Thomas next. Hi, Natalie.
Hello. So I want to thank you for this opportunity, and it's just such a pleasure to be in such great company with others who are making such an impact in this world. So I'm in Texas, and I am a mental health professional. I have a mental health practice that is full service. So in addition to the normal individual and group counseling, we also work with companies and organizations, because as so many people have mentioned here today, there absolutely is a need to help individuals to decrease stress and burnout, and even, focus on better systems. And so what we essentially do is to make sure that we're able to work on mindsets and just help to eliminate unhealthy thoughts and behaviors and feelings, to move not only the organizations, but people as well, from pain to purpose.
Yeah, I love that. And I also love that whatever you do with individuals, because really, what is a business anyway, or a company? Is just really a group of more individuals that you're able to now,
Yes.
that you also take that to team settings and companies as well. Natalie, back to kind of your vast experience. I'm sure you've been doing this work for a long time. What are some of the, I guess, mental fitness things that we can do, or systems? Let's call it that, because I mean, in our world, we understand system structures, especially when you're scaling a company. What are some really healthy systems that we can personally implement, whether it's our personal or professional world, so that we are able to at least put some, bumps around, okay, these are the right practices that I want to start to implement, so that I ensure that my mental health is always top of mind when, sometimes we just don't know what left or right is, or we always have so many things coming on towards us. So is there like certain principles or certain systems that we can implement that you've also seen in your journey that have helped a lot of your clients in the past, and also probably you personally as well?
Yes. So I think really the main thing, of course, is we've heard it today, right, with ego, when Zach was talking earlier. And what happens is sometimes we don't make sure that we have good boundaries, right? Because we want to people please. We've kind of talked about that. So number one, just making sure we have good boundaries. There's always going to be so many people to help. There's always going to be so much work to do. And someone mentioned it earlier, when you're doing very well, you get more work, right? That's your gift. That's your reward, is you're excellent. And so you can be excellent not only at 10 things, but 20 things, because we have more for you to do. So it really is up to us to make sure that we have really good boundaries. And when our plate is full, to say no, my plate is full. And there may or may not be other people to do it. A lot of times we're so focused on others that we just take these things on, and then we're burned out and we're stressed and we're dealing with anxiety. And then we're also not good for our own families, right? So number one, just making sure that we have good boundaries, and then also that there's good communication, because sometimes we can be so fearful in starting that conversation to say no, or, you know, starting the conversation to say, hey, at one point in my life, I could do, you know, take on these 5 tasks, but at this point, my life has changed and I need to only be able to do 3. So it's just really having that courageous conversation with someone when things have shifted. But then also, once again, just making sure that we have good boundaries. And those usually are the 2 things, whether it's a company who's sometimes taking advantage of others because they don't have good boundaries, or even, you know, in our own families where we're dumping on this one person for everything because we feel like they got it. They're superwoman, they're superman, you know, they always do everything. So just, you know, not only being mindful of ours, but then just as humans, being mindful of others, right? And so sometimes having those conversations to say, is this something you can take on? A lot of times we just hand things over and we don't have the conversation to see if they're at their capacity with what they're doing already.
Wow, Natalie, I think you brought up such great points. And I think something that's really important and something that stands out to me also as I grow through my own entrepreneurial journey that you mentioned when you're a good employee. There's always, you're gonna always have, you know, more things added to your plate. So it's important for you to have those very clear assertive boundaries around your personal life and professional life, but also as entrepreneurs. The more we go through the journey, the more experience we get, the more skilled we become. It just seems like it's like the rat wheel, you know, the thing that we, all of us have kind of, well, most of us have moved away from the traditional world, or even working in the corporate environment where you now can, you know, do more things. So you're always working. So I think it's important to understand that we become more capable, we become more skilled, we become more experienced. And that means that we have to definitely keep an eye on our boundaries even more intentionally because of that fact as well. So yeah, absolutely. How did you get into this work, Natalie?
So it's been a bit of a journey. I actually started out as a teacher and moved into school counseling. And from there, I did all the levels. I even went and got my principal certification because I was getting really burnt out. And so I thought, oh, it's time to make this shift, and moved into mental health. And so I am a licensed professional counselor. And it was basically the journey through education, which we all, or I think we all know, it is the most stressful industry currently. And they do have a lot that they put on your plate, and there's always a lot to do because there's always a little human or a big human right in your space. And so it was just the journey of being burnt out. And I thought, I can't do another thing for another person. What else can I do? And I just landed into the mental health space because as much as I loved counseling, doing it as a school counselor was very overwhelming.
Wow, what a journey. And I really think that when you actually do the work that you do, right? Or even coaches that help with specific areas, I think it's important for you to take care of your own mental health. So that would be my last question. Like, how do you take care of your own mental health, especially when you're helping so many of your clients with their own mental health challenges? Like, how do you separate work and personal life in that way? What have you learned that have helped you kind of have that, you know, those boundaries and the mental health piece that I know is such a challenge when this is the day-to-day work that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was given a gift during my internship when I was in school to get my school counseling certification. And my professor, I had this kid that I loved and I always wanted to help him. And he had a lot of challenges and he had a lot of struggles. And I'll never forget, we were doing supervision and I started crying. And she was like, oh no, like, she was like, we have to be empathetic. We have to help. We have to be compassionate, but we also have to leave it at work. And I thought, what? Like, this kid needs so much help. This kid needs so much. And she's like, you won't make it. Like, I promise you, you won't make it if you start out like this. And so, honestly, her words always stay with me. So, when I'm tired, when I'm struggling, I always remember her telling me, you won't make it. And so, honestly, I can't take any credit for things that I've done. That was just the gift that I was given very early on of someone who had the knowledge and had watched people burn out and, spiral down, to say, you have to stop, you have to leave it there. And so I do a lot of that. So definitely a lot of self-care, and self-care looks different for everyone. So what we have to do is say, okay, am I the person who needs to sit on the beach, or am I the person who needs a nap, or am I the person who just needs, 30 minutes, sitting to myself, whatever that looks like. We have to figure out what that is, and from there, make sure we implement it, especially when we're listening to our bodies and when we start to feel down and we start to feel stressed and anxious and say, oh, wait, I have to do self-care, because we can forget about it. Absolutely, we can. So we just have to make sure we don't.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for sharing that. And it's amazing how sometimes, you hear just the right thing that you need to hear at that moment. And it could be through the words of, like the circumstance, or someone in your case that kind of just was in your ear telling you the thing that stuck with you. And that's a great reminder for you, right? That's why we can't underestimate the power of our, sharing things
Yes.
that we have learned. And you just never know how it will land with someone else. And yeah, it's amazing how we hear different things wherever we are in the journey, right? Whatever is needed to be heard, we will hear it, and that can come from anywhere. So just staying open to that experience for sure. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
and I think listening is very important. A lot of times, especially when you're driven, you want to figure it out on your own. You want to go through this discovery and this path of finding things out. But it is important to listen, because when people are talking, sometimes they are giving you nuggets and you don't have to have the lesson on your own.
Absolutely. Well, that's why I value experience so much, and I value everyone. And that's actually why I create these events, because not only can we learn from one another, but it's so smart to learn from each other's experiences as well, right? Because
Yeah.
again, we can save a lot of time and we can create a bigger impact that way as well. So yeah, we all have experience to share. So what's the point of experience if we can't share it with others, right? And then it becomes like, a small world, and we just keep it to ourselves. It doesn't seem responsible. So yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for what you shared thus far. And I have one more speaker left. I can't believe it. Thank you so much to everyone for pouring into me, and everyone listening into yourselves. I mean, every event is like an aha moment. There's something that always we walk away with. So I'd like to say hi to my last speaker, my last but not least speaker for the day, Abigail Tien Taylor. I hope I said your last name correctly, Abigail. And I kind of know a little bit about the work you do. You help people really get the right skills to be able to create bigger transformations. So thank you so much for coming on, and just remind everyone where you are based and also the work that you do as well. No, Abigail, you are muted.
Yeah, the last name's Tiefenthaler. I am in Greenville, Tennessee, so I'm about an hour and a half from John. I'm a New Yorker by birth and raised, and college and everything. So I've been in Tennessee a couple of years, and South Carolina and Florida, as well as New York and New Jersey. I grew up in an advertising family. My dad was a madman, Madison Avenue, BBD&O. My mother was a madwoman, Madison Avenue, BBD&O. And then after her third kid, she started a marketing company from the house. So The first answer that I can provide is, why do I do what I do? Is because I've never done anything else. I'm a one-trick pony. I don't think there was even an option of even considering anything else. I feel like the prince or the princess who's just going to inherit the kingdom because that's what they were raised into, right? So I do that. But what I spent my first 15 years in corporate, working both on the client side and on the agency side in product management and marketing, and went out onto an entrepreneurial journey 26 years ago after I relocated to Florida. And while I'm a strategist by profession and I'm a strategist by education, and I've always wanted to find a better mousetrap. And so we've been, over my career, I've been lucky enough to be on quite a few launch teams and have brought different things to market. But I've always had a soft spot for the entrepreneur, the person who's coming out of corporate and taking their 20 years of HR history and want to be a career coach, or the person who's had a transformation in their life and they now want to share that with the world. Because I think what's happened in the industry over the last 5 years, especially, is we're really being taught by people who don't understand the plight of how difficult it is now. A lot of the 1%ers that are out there have really focused on saying, oh, just do this, or use templates, or you can work 4 hours. And for all of us who are entrepreneurs, I know for a fact I've never had a 4-hour workday unless I have specifically turned off my calendar. I've never taken a Saturday off unless it's been by choice. I'm always doing something, thinking about the business, doing the business, talking about the business, talking about business, in general, because that's, entrepreneurs are visionaries. So everyone in this room is a visionary, and it's wonderful to be in your company. I've loved hearing everything that I've heard today. And my goal, really, I exist to help people use marketing to do the work it's supposed to do, which is drive decision-making. Plain and simple, marketing has one function: to drive decision-making into a sales conversation, or a no, I'm not interested, into a click to buy, whatever it is. So everything that my business partner and I do around marketing, it's not visibility building, it's not reputation building, but it's all, how can we strategically move the lead into a prospect, and how do we nurture that prospect into an opportunity to convert them into a client? So there's very simple paths that we create. Everything is very sales focused. We like organic outreach. We like cold email. We use some of the methods that people poo-poo all the time, but when done strategically, when done to the right audience, as Ella mentioned, when done with the right message, it will yield amazing results, and much better than just posting on social media every day of the week and wondering why I don't have business.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I can feel your love for strategy, right? I think that's definitely a common thing that we both have, because to me, strategy means clarity, right? Being intentional, working smart and not hard. And there's definitely predictable things that we can do with our marketing, specifically as you were mentioning, so that we are intentionally leading someone. And especially if you have a service that you believe in, right? And it can transform lives. It's just pretty much your due diligence to be able to understand how to, do all of these different things so that you can, provide a better service. So, it's not a lot of the other stuff that really our mindset, but if we have a service mindset around sales, then there's a predictable way that people make decisions. So I love that you said marketing and decision making, and you connecting those two very important dots and fundamentals for most people. Abigail, what is it that you can share around maybe your own process or things that you've done with your clients around the different channels that we can utilize in our marketing to help people make better decisions, and then obviously close them so that we can potentially help them and serve them with our service delivery piece? What can you share with us that would help our audience connect some of those dots?
The beautiful thing about both Tammy and I. Tammy's also a 40-year career marketer and business developer. We both have sold, we both have marketed, we both have had successful businesses, we've had failures, you know, we've had crickets, right? We've been through everything individually and together. And the challenge today is really having an offer, understanding the offer, even if it's a VIP day or it's one-on-one, you know, relationships and you're doing proposals, but to be so confident in that offer that you now have the ability to talk about it in a lot of different places and it's clear, it's concise, it's singular, it's problem solving, it's customer focused. Nobody really cares about who I am until they get to know me, and then they believe that I'm going to provide their transformation to success. Right. So I'm the strategist in our relationship. Tammy is the tactician. So I always say we've got a kite. I'm the kite, she's the anchor. And the other superpower that we have is that we bring both sides, that left brain, that right brain, that, you know, the proper use of how does marketing again act as that foundation. But if you are going to really focus in on a couple of things that are so important, I mean, one is you need courage to get out there. You have got to be out there. Number two, you've got to be consistent. That builds confidence. You have to know where you are, where you want, you know, where your client is and where your client wants to go so that you can help provide that path. You need them to see, you need to help them see that it's possible. And you need to help them understand that this journey is going to be more than just an effort in tactics, but it's actually going to change their business, their personal life, whatever it is. So it really is putting in, you know, for something that's as creative as marketing can be, it's really about putting in very simple steps to moving that decision making, getting them confident, and getting them to understand what it is they're actually selling.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that, and I think you mentioned something pretty important, which is, you know, something most people struggle with, which is consistency, especially, you know, when you don't understand there's a lot of steps to be able to take. So I love that you'll actually help people, and we're going to hear about some of the other ways for people to further connect with you after, either do it for you or do it with them, where they understand there's, you know, certain steps that I'm taking, so that it helps with consistency, because then you are clear about why you're doing what you're doing, and these things can be intentional, and then you can create rinse and repeat processes and then scale after that. So,
well, I would say that most people, as much as they think they know, they don't know the problem they solve. They really don't understand it at the level that the client is struggling with it. So they want to use their words from their industry, and nobody's sitting there, you know, at 2 o'clock in the morning wondering, well, if only I put in place a new SOP, life would be better at the company, right? They're sitting there trying to figure out how to get everybody on the same page. They're sitting there how to figure out how to stop the leakage of clients because you're not delivering at the level of expectation. So you really have to be kind of visceral around what it is and be honest that this is the problem you're solving. So
yeah, misalignment of reality is such a thing, and
yes,
with evolution, this is definitely something that you always got to go back to, because I find that a lot of times, you know, we always think, including myself, oh, I know my market, right? And then we know our market, but no, because things change every day. Behaviors change, you know, decisions change, competitors change, all the things change, which are really outside of our control for sure. Abigail, my last question for you is around how highly you speak of your business partner. Can you share some of the best practices that have worked for both of you to be able to maintain a very healthy, you know, profitable and also sustainable business partnership?
Yeah, we have every year we decide if we want to stay in partnership or not. So I mean, we do an evaluation conversation around what's worked, what hasn't, what do we need to change. For the most part, she doesn't step on my strategy toes and I don't step on her tactic toes, other than to ask questions to be able to better, understand the journey, because I'm usually the first point of contact with most of our clients. So I want to set them up for success. So the more that Tammy can give me in terms of the process, it's helpful. We've been married 30 plus years, both of us. We both have grown children that are functioning and independent from, their families. And so we're good at relationships. We've obviously learned how to make them work. And, we're not afraid to talk about tough things. So I think those are some of the things that have helped our success.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that's a big pain point for lots of entrepreneurs that might be considering partnerships, what to look for, and it's so stressful, and it's such a big pain point, because I love that you said that you touch base and you touch, you kind of just do the nurture touch point around, like, is this, every year, as you said, like you have your own things that you have said to kind of see if this is still a thing that's working or gelling for both people or aligning with both. So it's really healthy, and it's all back to basic, fundamental, good human relationships.
Right. At the end of the day, that's what it is. It's, being okay with having tough conversations, respecting each other, trusting each other, and I think that's probably the foundation of any good relationship in any part of your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we like each other. That helps.
Thank you so much for sharing the work you do, and also for coming on today and sharing your time and wisdom with us as well. And yeah, we've actually reached the end of this event today, and I want to thank all my speakers again for everything that they shared with us, pouring into all of us. I'd like to now do a very a recap, I guess, of the event, a final conversation. So I would love to go to Ella. Back to Ella again. And Ella, if you could share, speaking back to kind of what we're talking about today, that came up with kind of one impactful maybe message that you really felt today from this conversation that you can share with us, and also where is it that the audience can continue this conversation with you?
So the message that I got from all of you is that you all have found something that you really, really love to do, and you're honing into your gifts. And yeah, that's it, actually. Is it okay?
Of course it is. Whatever comes up for you. Beautiful. And where is it that the audience can further connect with you?
They can connect with me via LinkedIn, by my name. I'm easy findable, and that's it.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. And I'd love to go to Zach next. Same question for you. Same question for everybody to wrap up.
This has been beautiful. I took so much notes. This is great, because I love what everyone said about vulnerability, showing up, being authentically you, and all this. So it's just a great reminder for everyone out there that's listening to the show that you're not alone, and that someone else has gone through the journey before you to take you through your journey today in order for you to get those shortcuts in life. And are they shortcuts? Well, you might as well learn the lesson and go through the journey is what I say it before you have to go through it. So you can reach me on LinkedIn, or you could find me on my website, zachliotis.com.
All right, beautiful. Thanks so much for sharing. Michelle.
I seriously, I was taking notes on my computer, and I was trying to get all the information down. I think that this has been amazing. I think that, like you were saying, everybody found a passion for what we're doing, and this is what it's all about, right? We're trying to help people to achieve their potentials. And so I love that about this. People can find me on, it's called Wisdom4, the number 4, complexkids.com. And I also have a Facebook group. I don't do as much LinkedIn because moms are not usually on LinkedIn. So we do a lot of Facebook stuff. And so it is Wisdom for Complex Kids. If you look that up, you will find me, and through my name too, you'll be able to search me. But Facebook is my little area, so I would love to connect with you there. And I really appreciate you having me on this and being able to listen to everybody. So thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. All right, Alex.
Yeah, what I took away from this, and I think we all kind of share, is this principle I call building a bigger bubble. This is, part of my keynote, where think about expansion, think about a dream, a vision so big that everybody else can see themselves inside of it. So you start enrolling people into the idea and drawing out their strengths and supporting it, not manipulating, not using, not uh, poaching or leeching off people, but actually letting them contribute to a bigger picture, a bigger purpose. And uh, you can connect with me on my website, alexdumascoaching.com, on LinkedIn as well. And I have a daily 3-minute podcast called Love Serve Care that's going on year 4 right now. So every day, 3 minutes of some inspiration, some bite-sized brain waves from yours truly, and a way to make a difference in the world.
All right, beautiful message. Thanks so much, Alex. Claire?
Yes, this was so insightful, and I did take a lot of notes. And honestly, like it would take me 10 minutes to mention everyone here. But I'm gonna mention just 2 things. What Alex said, sorry, not Alex, sorry, John, what said, he said that when he talks to leaders, you are gonna make an impact on people. Will it be positive or negative? That really stuck with me. It's so simple, and it's so true. You speak my language, John. And Abigail, I loved what you shared about, you got entrepreneurs sitting there thinking, how, what SOP am I gonna need to make my, my process more productive or something like that. That really stuck with me. And you're absolutely right. We don't think, sometimes we don't put ourselves in the client's mindset and just use simple words like to really hit those pain points. Anyhow, I just wanted to mention these 2, and basically nothing against what everybody else said, but I mean, so much to say. I'd love to continue the conversation on LinkedIn, social media, whatever you choose. I'm going to share my links here again. It was lovely, Ilona. Thank you so much. This is such a great initiative. I really do appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that as well. All right, I'd love to go to Natalie next.
Yes, thank you. My takeaway from all of this is once you find what you're really supposed to do, you will embrace it and love it and really be able to add value to people. So it's been great being here with you all. As far as keeping in touch, I am on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. That my practice is, the name is the Remix Center. And so on all platforms, we're at Ask the Remix Center. So I would love to connect. My website is theremixcenter.com. And if you do theremixcenter.com/links, you can just click on there for your preferred platform and it will take you directly to it so you can like and follow.
Okay, thanks so much, Natalie. John?
There we go. Got to press mute twice. Yeah, I think what I kind of took from this, steal Alex's line, also part of my keynote. You can change the world. Every single one of us has the capacity to change the world. It's not just leaders. When we impact the life in front of us, there's a ripple effect, and each of us are doing that. And as I heard the different stories and heard the different ways that we are trying to fulfill our purpose and passion, it just came to mind, like, there are world changers sitting around this virtual table, and that is an amazing thing. Also, I'm not just trying to shoot back at Claire, but her smile. How much joy do you see in Claire's face? I'm sorry, but I had to bring that up. Her joy is infectious. How to get in touch with me? I'm going to go ahead and put my bio link in the chat again, but basically it's everything servant-minded leadership. servantmindedleadership.com, on Instagram, Servant Minded Leadership, on Facebook, Servant Minded Leadership. I spend most of my energy on YouTube and LinkedIn, the Servant Minded Leadership channel on YouTube, and every video you'll see there will end with, as we empower leaders to change the world. So I really believe in that concept of changing the world one person at a time. And then LinkedIn, and then everything that I make for YouTube and LinkedIn just kind of gets scattered on Snapchat and TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and Quora and basically anywhere else I can find to post a link. So if you look up Servant Minded Leadership, you'll probably find I don't even know how many different platforms that you can find me on. For me personally, though, and not just the business, LinkedIn is the best way. And if you want to do a meeting, I'd be happy to send you my personal virtual coffee link, unless we're close enough to get real coffee, and that would be even better.
All right, love it. Thanks so much, John. Abigail. Nope, still muted, Abigail.
Yes, as I said, I thought I was sitting at a table with visionary leaders, so it's been a really nice hour and a half. Thank you for organizing this. I think it's wonderful, Ilona, what you're doing and bringing people together from different places. But I think we all have a very common mission, which is to help people do things that we can help them change and do better. My goal is that my mission has been to really get entrepreneurs into marketing that doesn't that gets results, number one, but doesn't terrify them, number two. And I think there's so much misinformation out there that it's hard to rise above it all to say, you can do this. So even though I don't consider myself a mindset coach, never will consider myself a mindset coach, to step out authentically in your superpower is really about having the confidence to do so and being courageous enough to be willing to risk success or failure or whatever, comes next, right? So as far as reaching me, I posted it in the chat, but the good news about having my name is nobody else has it. So I can be reached on LinkedIn and Facebook. Those are the two platforms I primarily use. Our company is Savvy Sales Strategy. Our website is savvysalesstrategy.com.
All right. Well, I want to say thank you to all of you for coming on today. Again, I really hope that even for you listening, this was an impactful event. I'm sure that there's so much wisdom, but just take, one or two or three top things that you walk away with and just start implementing those right away. I think that's where you'll get the most value out of this conversation. And I want to thank all my speakers. So you don't have to worry about all the links. I will tag everyone right underneath the event so that you can all connect further with one another, be in service towards one another, collaborate, find better ways to serve each other and the world and the people that you want to help and support. And I want to thank you for always supporting the show and coming on and listening and sharing this with other purpose-driven entrepreneurs and visionary leaders that are really after changing the world and lead with their heart and their purpose and are always coming together and have such a great purpose around sharing their knowledge, expertise, and their experiences. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with another amazing event. And by the way, I just forgot, we also have a community expert program here at the Life School, so I'm going to post more details about that as well, alongside all the amazing speaker connections. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time with another beautiful event. Bye, everybody.